In this video, we will be discussing the Reeve. Now, a Reeve was an estate manager back in Chaucer's time. He acted as a go-between between like the serfs that were working on the land and the wealthy land owner. The Reeve was old and choleric and thin. Now, if we look at your footnote for Reeve, it tells us that choleric is having a temperament in which yellow bile predominates and therefore prone to outbursts of anger. So what we have here is this angry old man for the character of the Reeve. His beard was shaven closely to the skin, his shorn hair came abruptly to a stop above his ears, and he was docked on top, just like a priest in front. Okay, so if you have the same version as I do, you can see a picture of the Reeve right here. Okay, very nice haircut going on there. So picture that nice little bowl cut, I believe it's called. His legs were lean, like sticks they were. No calf was to be seen. Okay, so he is obviously not doing leg day with the squire, right? He's skipping leg day here. Just skinny legs, angry old guy with that little weird haircut going on. He kept his bins and carners very trim. No auditor could gain a point on him. And he could judge by watching drought and rain the yield he might expect from seed and grain. His master's sheep, his animals and hens, pigs, horses, dairies, stores, and cattle pens were wholly trusted to his government. He had been under contract to present the accounts right from his master's earliest years. No one had ever caught him in arrears. No bailiff, serf, or herdsman dared to kick. He knew their dodges, knew their every trick. Feared like the plague he was by those beneath. Look at that line that I just read to you. Feared like the plague he was by those beneath. People during this time really feared the plague, right? Wiped out about half of Europe's population. So to be compared to that, to say that you are feared like the plague, means you had a real bad temper going on, right? You did not treat the people who worked for you well at all. This is not a guy that you would ever want to hang out with, meet, have any interactions with. Okay, just not a good guy. He had a lovely dwelling on a heath, shadowed and green by trees above the sward, a better hand at bargains than his lord. He had grown rich and had a store of treasure well tucked away, yet out it came to pleasure his lord with subtle loans or gifts of goods, to earn his thanks in even coats and hoods. There's a lot of implication here in these lines, the ones I just read to you, and then the first half of the description of the Reeve. I think there's some different ways that you could translate this, but what I am seeing here is that this Reeve, he takes money from the landowner. Okay, since he is in charge of the estate, right, he is in charge of some of the financial going-ons there. And so what he'll do is when he's handling the money, he will pocket some for himself. Okay. And he's also very good at money as well. And eventually when the lord, okay, or the wealthy landowner who owns the land goes into debt, the Reeve will tell him, oh, hey, you know what? I'm really good with my money. I can give you a loan. Right? There might be like an interest on that loan. But yeah, I can loan you some money for a bit. When really it's that wealthy landowner's money that's being loaned to him that the Reeve stole from him. So that's what I'm kind of reading from this, is that he's like a very shrewd man. Okay, he knows how to make some money, and apparently he is more intelligent than the landowner. When young, he'd learn a useful trade and still. He was a carpenter, first-rate skill. The stallion cob he rode at a slow trot was dapple gray and bore the name of Scott. He wore an overcoat of bluish shade, and rather long he had a rusty blade slung at his side. Okay, if someone's coming at me with a knife, and they're not going to hit any like major areas of my body, then I don't want them to be coming at me with a rusty knife. I feel like there's a lot of infections that could come from that. So just kind of like another creep factor, the fact that his knife is rusty. He came, as I heard tell, from Norfolk, near a place called Baldwell. His coat was tucked under his belt and splayed. He rode the hindmost of our cavalcade. So in this line of pilgrims, The Reeve is riding at the very back of the line, probably because no one wants to be around him because of his horrible personality. No one wants to be around someone who's like angry and bitter all the time. So, in terms of what Chaucer thinks about this character, I would say you could argue strongly probably for dislike, just because it doesn't seem like he really has any redeeming qualities at all. From his corruptness of stealing from his boss all the way to the fact that he has a horrible personality. So, however, you could argue this. If you want to say he's neutral and argue it that way, you could. Or I think that there's definitely an argument here for Chaucer disliking this character.